Hello, welcome to the HealthInn Show, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. You've come to the right place to tune in and participate with your comments and questions. Love is the greatest healer of all. But sometimes, in order to change our emotions, we must take action in other spheres of our lives. We speak with experts in alternative and complementary health fields and hope you will benefit in some small or great way. Remember, you are wherever your thoughts are. Make sure your thoughts are where you want to be.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's HealthInn Show, the HWC online TV show. My name is Uta Mittelstedt. I'm the COO of Homeopathy World Community, and we have a very special guest today. That's Dipti Tait, a grief hypnotherapist from England. Joining us on this call, we have my co-host, Dr. Deepak Sharma, all the way from India. Hello, Dr. Deepak. Glad you could make it today.
There. Hello.
And we have special members of our board here today. That's Richard Derry, and he is the HWC Director of Special Projects. And we have joining us as well from New York. I forgot to say Richard Derry is coming all the way from Canada, and Jonathan Kavner is joining us. He is our Chief Tech Officer at HWC. He's joining us all the way from New York. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the August show of the Homeopathy World Community HealthInn Show. How's everybody doing? You're all well? Hello, Dipti. How are you doing?
Hello,
Yes.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Glad you could make it to our show today. Grief hypnotherapist sounds fantastic. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, grief hypnotherapist is an unusual title, I must say. When you're at school at the beginning of, when your teacher says to you, what do you want to do when you grow up? I didn't say grief hypnotherapist. I said ballerina, but ballerina didn't happen. So the reason why I became a grief hypnotherapist was basically because of my own personal circumstances, which I'm sure we will be talking about. But I found grief because grief came to find me. And I can share a bit more about that. And then because grief came to find me, I was in a very low, dark place. And that's how I found hypnotherapy for myself. So then I trained in hypnotherapy to help others.
Fantastic. That sounds brilliant. To our audience who are listening in and watching today, we've got a chat open. I mean, you can pop your questions in there. If you've got any questions to Dipti, we will put them through to you, to her, and we'll get you some answers. So if you've got anything, put your nickname in to the chat box and the questions, and we will bring them forward to Dipti. Okay, so tell us a bit about what made you become that hypnotherapist in first place.
So it was my early 20s when I was working in TV, actually. And in my early 20s, I thought, right, that's it. I've arrived in life. This is a great place to be. And out of nowhere, my dad was suddenly diagnosed with cancer. And so when I found out the diagnosis, at the same time, I found out that he only had 3 months to live. So it was such a huge, huge shock. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have anyone, to share that burden with. So I was the one that had to break that news to my mum. And yeah, they were right. I found out in May, he was gone in September. So I nursed him and grew up very quickly, so I was only 23 at the time. My mum at that time, she wasn't very, she was quite a dependent person. She wasn't very independent. So it was almost like our roles reversed. So it's almost like I became her mum. She became my child because she couldn't drive. She couldn't do certain things. So it was very difficult in my 20s because it's almost like my role just shifted, and my life completely changed. Shortly after that, my mum was diagnosed with cancer. So then she didn't know how long she had left. She didn't want to know. But the conversation I had with the consultant, I kind of got the picture that it wasn't very long either. So then, unfortunately, she died as well. So then I was just plunged in this, I don't know, darkness. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. At that time also, I'd got married in that time, and at that time I was going through a divorce. So I'm a Londoner, and I used to live in London, and I moved to the Cotswolds, which is about 110 miles away from London. At that time also, I had become a mother myself. So I had two small children now. They've grown up now. They're 18 and 19 now. So at that time, my transition through life was changing as well. So I'd lost my parents. I'd become a parent. I had got married. Now I was getting divorced. So it was almost like all these massive things were changing. And I that's where grief came into my life. I suddenly didn't know how to handle life anymore. I became very, I'm very capable as a person, and I became very incapable. And so through that darkness, I guess that's where I found hypnotherapy. And I decided to train as a hypnotherapist, just to be pulling myself out of this hole, And that training was probably I feel that training saved my life. That's how monumental, that time in my life was. So that was 20, that the whole trajectory of that was from, 97, 98. And I finished my training in 2013. So I've been a full-time online hypnotherapist now since then, and a grief practitioner and coach and therapist.
Well, that's certainly a very heavy story. You've had to transition in life, but you managed to cope with this and found something like hypnotherapy to help you through this. It's a fascinating story. Would you like to explain a little bit to our listeners and viewers what exactly hypnotherapy entails?
Yes, so there is a massive difference between stage hypnosis, which a lot of you will have heard of, and Jonathan is nodding and smiling there because he sent me an email, was it yesterday or the day before, saying I'm a bit worried about being hypnotized. And so I just replied saying that's okay, because this isn't stage hypnosis. Hypnotherapy is kind of what it says on the tin. It's using hypnosis as a form of therapy. So therapy doesn't have to be only for people who've got, high states of mental issues, so anxiety or depression. So it could also be in a way, so I don't only work with people who are up the, needing mental health help end. I also work with people for, like sports, motivation, that type of thing. So hypnosis is a really interesting word because people don't really understand what it is, but we're all hypnotized. We go into hypnosis every 7 or 8 minutes inside our brain anyway. It's just it's a part of your brain system that you go into because your brain has to go into that part to be able to sort through, categorize, organize. We also go into hypnosis. It's also known as REM. You've probably heard of that, rapid eye movement. Yeah. So we go into hypnosis when we go to sleep at night, because that's the way of the brain doing a brain dump, sorting through the day, getting rid of stress and categorizing and organizing and doing essentially like a defrag, like a computer would. So when us as hypnotherapists use hypnosis, we're essentially cleaning out the brain to create space. We also combine it with coaching So what we end up doing is the first bit of the session is about coaching, about what people want out of the session. And then the second bit of the session is the deep relaxation, which is essentially the hypnosis part. Mm-hmm. And that gets the person into a lovely relaxed state. Mm-hmm. I mean, hypnos just means sleep, in Greek. So that's really essentially what we're doing. We're getting somebody into a really lovely, calm, we engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which is obviously the opposite of stress. So we are moving them into that state of mind, which is the state of mind that is easily able to accept suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Deepak, any questions?
Yes. Thank you, Dipti. And this is really wonderful to know about hypnotherapy, especially in the grief. But as a common person, at what stage of the grief does the hypnotherapy is needed?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Deepak. Quite a lot of the time, because grief is so unique, isn't it, to the person who is experiencing grief. Lots of the time, people don't know they're grieving, I find. So it's not often that people will come to me and say, I'm grieving, I need hypnotherapy. Mm-hmm. What they will come and say, though, is that they might feel that they've lost motivation, or they've lost confidence, or they've lost some type of control, they've lost sleep, so they're suffering with their sleep, or they've lost some kind of agency of their life, they feel depressed, their mood is low. So they will come to me with those types of symptoms. They won't necessarily call them grief, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So my job really is about getting people to understand that this is one of my principles. I believe everybody is grieving something. Mm-hmm. So even though my parents died and there was a death involved there, and that's how I experienced grief in the first place, I believe now, so the example of me moving, say, from London to the Cotswolds, I was experiencing the same levels of emotional overwhelm as in the same sort of way that I was experiencing when my parents died. And I got confused, and I thought, well, I've only left London. London's not died. It's only 110 miles away. Why am I still going through these feelings? And then I recognized that they were still grief symptoms, because essentially grief happens to all of us when we face some kind of loss. So it doesn't have to be a loss of a person. It could be a loss of anything that you've loved. And then when that isn't there anymore, it's almost like there's a hole that's left, and in that hole, I believe, sits grief. So really my whole ethos and principle and education now is about explaining to people that we are all grieving, and hypnotherapy can help with all of those points of, I guess, loss. That's a very long way of answering your question, Deepak. Sorry, did that answer your question okay?
Okay, no worry. But you wonderfully explained a few things. And one more thing we all want to know, that you are treating with the medical treatments, and the hypnotherapy is going with the medical treatments. Like if someone is taking the medicine for anxiety or the grief, so shall they continue with that medical treatment, or you just alone give your therapies?
I would never, ever, ever suggest that people stop any kind of medication. I will always say to them, please tell your doctor that you are having hypnotherapy as well at the same time. So the two systems can work together, very well. Sometimes you might find that the clients feel better after 12 sessions, and then they go to the doctor, and the doctor then ends up reducing the medication anyway. So, but I will never say stop the medication. That's always something that's between the client and the doctor. What I will say, though, if somebody is going to traditional counseling, so talking therapy where we go backwards, where we dig around in the past, I will say to them, do that first. Once you've finished there, then come to me. Because our method is called solution-focused hypnotherapy, and that kind of does what it says on the tin. It's looking for your solution. So we don't go backwards, we go forwards. The only time I will ever go backwards is to get a little bit of a history about that person in the first place, and then that's it. I never go backwards ever again. We're always moving from the present moment into the person's preferred future, their compelling future, what they would like to achieve moving forward.
Great, good to know. Thank you so much. Uta, over to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Great questions, great answers. Any questions, Jonathan or Richard? No? Okay, then I go on. Okay.
No questions here.
Yeah. No questions.
I'm just
Okay.
glad to know that I'm not going to be made to bump
so
like
how
a
many
chicken.
sessions Dipti does? Okay, Dipti, then let me pass on. How many sessions does one generally need if one goes to hypnosis? Tell us a bit about how this. You already mentioned the structure of the sessions, talking first about the plan and then going into hypnosis. So, but what's the setup? How many sessions is common in a treatment?
So there will always be an initial consultation, which is where I get the information from the person and I give them information about how the brain works and how we work in a very neuroscientific way. So I'll always give the education. I believe that it's really important to explain what we do and why we do it, because then people understand exactly why I'm asking them to do certain things, and then they're buying into the treatment as well. So it's like it always becomes a collaboration. It's not look into my eyes, I will wave my fingers around and I will click and you will be fine. It's not that at all. This is always a very, very much a two-way street. So the initial consultation is the first session. And then actually, if I'm thinking about a broad average, because there isn't one size fits all really, because everybody is so unique with what they're experiencing and how long they've been experiencing it. But I would say within 8 weeks is a probably good amount of time, and we do the sessions once a week to keep the brain on track and on target, because if we're doing things like belief change, or habitual change, it's easy for the brain to kind of go back to default and go back to its ways. So we want to keep that, therapy, working succinctly. Within the sessions also, they'll have one-to-one sessions over Zoom, but I always give an audio to work with every night. So in between every live session, they have an audio to play every night. So it keeps our sessions fresh and consistent. So yeah, they've really got to like my voice. Otherwise, that would be really irritating.
I can imagine that. So is auto hypnosis, as you just said, obviously an integral part of your practice then? Is it something, there's all these many hypnosis sessions out there on YouTube and all these channels where you can sort of access some of these lovely voices, or voice over music or music over voice or something of the sort that makes you sleep better and that makes you, I don't know what else. Do they work? What's your take on these sessions that are all available out there?
So when people come to see me and they say, oh, I've been to hypnotherapy and it didn't work, I always say to them, it's not about the hypnotherapy, it's the rapport that you might have had with your hypnotherapist. So if we go into the idea of if you like somebody and trust them, and then they ask you to do something, you're generally going to say yes. If you don't like somebody and you don't trust them and they ask you to do something, you generally might nod and say yes, but not do it, right? So it's almost like the hypnotherapist's job is to have complete rapport with the patient or the client and to maintain that rapport. As soon as the rapport is maintained and stuck together, that's where the therapy, it can get magical, and because we're going into the subconscious mind, if you think about the responsibility of that as well, as a hypnotherapist, I know that it's a really big responsibility, and from the client point of view, they're letting me in to a place that is, theirs, So that's why the trust has to be so solid. So in a way, your question goes back to the things that you can find on YouTube. So it depends on how suggestible you are as a person. So there are 3 sort of types of suggestibility. We've got highly suggestible people, who is what the stage hypnotists want as their client, because they will say, come on stage, here you go, let's pretend a plane is crashing and now you're in the plane, and then they'll be like, oh, the plane is crashing. You want someone who doesn't go, don't be so stupid, I'm not on a plane, I'm on a stage. So you don't want somebody who's not suggestible. So that's what the stage hypnotist will always look out for, is the highly suggestible people, and they will do suggestibility tests as part of their show to find those people. So from a therapy point of view, I'm not interested in the highly suggestible. If they happen to be highly suggestible, okay, great, that makes my job easy. But for example, with Jonathan, who sent me the email yesterday and said, I'm not very suggestible, will this still work? And I said, great, because I'm not used to working with people who are super suggestible. I'm used to working with people who analyze things, who want to understand things at a deeper level, who ask the right questions. So if I'm able to answer those questions sufficiently, and people feel that they can get that, rapport and alliance with me, then they will let me into their subconscious mind. It's a bit like going to the dentist. If you sit in the dentist chair and the dentist said, would you open your mouth? And you say, no. See what you can do with my mouth closed, right? Well, I'm not sure how much the dentist can do, to be fair. So I do have to have somebody who comes to me with an open mind, potentially. And so that's interesting. So it's not about the hypnosis, the video you're watching. It's about how much rapport you feel you've got with the person, and then how likely you are to take on those suggestions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But are there also people that are absolutely not suited for hypnosis?
There are those types of people, and then they wouldn't come. They just wouldn't come. So I've never had anybody come to me with their arms crossed and say, all right, I'm here, I've got an hour, see what you can do, because why would somebody do that or pay for that session? Okay, different if I was offering free sessions, maybe then somebody would do that. I would imagine they might do, just to test it out, but I don't offer free sessions, so someone wouldn't pay me and sit there resistant, would they? So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Dr. Deepak, any question?
Dipti, we understand about you that you are a grief specialist, especially in the hypnotherapist. But this theory is working on all other illnesses also, or only for the grief?
Yes, that's a really good question. Thank you for that one. So it works across the board. So sometimes people say, "Oh, what type of client, is best for you?" I say, "Oh, the type of client that has a brain." You know, that's my answer. So if we think about what hypnotherapy is doing, it's helping you change the way maybe you think. Therefore, if you can change the way you think, perhaps you can change the way you feel. And then if you change the way you feel, you perhaps change the way you behave. And then once you change the way you behave, you then perhaps change your experience of life. And then ultimately, you can change your reality. So essentially, if you want to change some aspect of your reality, you've got to trace it all the way back to how you think about that. So if you're able to change the thought, which is essentially what hypnosis and hypnotherapy help you do, change the thought, but also in a way that lines up with your value system, your beliefs, of what you believe is possible for yourself. So there's lots of different things happening at lots of different levels there. Your identity, your beliefs and values, your behavior, your environment. When everything starts to line itself up, then you feel congruent with all of those changes. And that's really why we do things in several weeks. It's not because I say, "Oh, you want to lose weight? Okay, there we go. You've lost it." That's just not, if I could do that, click my fingers and make people skinny. Oh my goodness, wow, that would be a superpower, right? So quite often it's not about me doing anything to anyone. It's about me pointing in a direction, like a sat nav, or a GPS in the car. You program the destination. So whatever the destination might be, it might be to feel more confident, or it might be to be more motivated, or it might be have more focus or sleep better. Whatever the solution is, you program that into the sat nav or the GPS. I'm just in the GPS pointing, and you're the driver. You take control and you drive as quickly or as slowly as you want to get to that destination. That's a good way of explaining it.
Wonderful. And this therapy is also useful for children?
Yes. So I see children pretty much. I'm not a huge. I don't see a lot of children, but there are a lot of hypnotherapists that do focus on children. But I do see children, and the way I've seen children is things like nervous conditions. So there might be bedwetting, nail biting, anxiety, insomnia, and then going up a bit to teenager for exam, stress and worry. Unfortunately, when it gets to the higher mental health issues like self-harming, and then body dysmorphia, so that then when it gets to teenage, there's that type of thing that starts to come in. So yeah, there's a lot of issues that children will benefit from with having hypnotherapy.
Great. And in this last 1.5 year, we faced many patients with the grief, and you can say everyone. I think everyone throughout the world is in the grief condition, whatever the condition, like the financial or the family loss. Many problems are there. So, how a patient is reached to a hypnotherapist? It's a only an online process, or we can meet physically with the hypnotherapist?
So my personal business is now fully online because of the pandemic. I have already. Before that, I already had half my practice was online, half of my practice was face to face, and then obviously the pandemic happened, and then all my practice became online. But because I already had an established online practice, my practice numbers tripled. So I was used to seeing about 10, 15 clients a week. And then through the pandemic, I was seeing 30, 35 clients a week. So then when the pandemic, well, now we're kind of coming out of it now, I decided to make the decision to close my face-to-face practice and stay fully online, because I have a bigger practice online. And obviously the world is online. So my practice in the Cotswolds is I've probably seen everybody in the Cotswolds now face to face. So my horizon has opened up. But your question about general hypnotherapists, yes, a lot of hypnotherapists might now have a blended practice between online and face to face. But some people probably just go back to face to face. Not a lot of hypnotherapists like online work, but I happen to be the one that really loves it. In fact, I prefer online to face to face. So yes, there'll be lots of options to have hypnotherapy face to face. And again, some people like the face to face, the rapport that you get with real life sessions. So grief, as you said, with the pandemic is a huge, huge issue. Over the pandemic, even though my practice numbers tripled, I was also writing my second book. I don't know how I fit this in, to be honest, because I really don't know, but that is the first book I wrote is called Good Grief, and that's when my parents died. So this was really not a book for people. It was more a book for myself, because I just didn't know how to organize my thoughts. So I wrote them all down, and then somebody said, hey, there's a book here. So that was my first book. And now the book that I've written through the pandemic is called Planet Grief. And that's coming out in October. And that really does focus on the pandemic and the global issues, and how, there's a bigger grief thing going on here that isn't just related to death, but it's related to business loss, or financial, like you say, financial loss, or loss of purpose, loss of independence, loss of status, loss of health. So Planet Grief will really discuss these wider issues.
Great, and all the best for your next book. My next question is, in your practice, what are the common griefs you found? In your experience, the most common griefs you found on your practice, the family separations or the financial loss. What are the common griefs?
That's a good question. You mean if there is one thing that stands out to me? Yeah, there isn't. There isn't anything that I think, oh, this one is the one that recurs. It's so broad, that I don't think there is one thing that I think, wow, that. Because I think it's such a broad topic, people will experience a little bit of it all at the same time, if that makes sense. It's hard to define in a big thing, but it's lots and lots of little things that become a big thing, if that makes sense. So I don't know if there's a common one, although in the pandemic period, I would say the thing that I was aware of, there was a common one inside the pandemic period only, and that was uncertainty. So people were very scared and fearful about change, because this came out of nowhere. They had no plan, and no one was helping them make a plan. And so I always say to people, as soon as you have no plan, there's a little gap, and in that gap comes anxiety. And then if you don't do anything about that, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until you can't handle it anymore, and there's that loss of control.
Yes, you are true that many of the people this time is really feeling uncertainty, and they are lost many things, and not only the families, not only the finances, they lost many things. Even I seen in my country, there is lot of patients are there who are facing many problems on the mental level also and the physical level also. So as we all know that the mental symptom is always connected with your physical symptoms, and we are the home base, like I, Uta, Jonathan, and Richard. We are connected to the homeopathy, and homeopathy also defined about 200 types of griefs and more than 1,000 medicines for grief, for the different kind of grief. So we are really good to know about that. Your therapy is also working on grief, and especially you are talking on the grief. So thank you so much, Jonathan, Richard, and Uday. If you want to continue, please ask any question. This is really wonderful session.
Thank you. Jonathan, any questions?
Dipti, have you worked with homeopaths in conjunction with the hypnotherapy and the use of some of the remedies that we employ when it comes to people who are trapped in and suffering ailments from grief?
No, but you know what? 1,000 medicines, the Dr. Deepak Sharma said. Did I hear that right? 1,000.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Even we have the medicine, especially for grief in the morning, separate medicine for grief in the afternoon, and separate medicine for the grief at the night.
wow.
We have the wonderful remedies even for the particular time. Like if a person is feeling grief during 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., that is a
No.
different medicine. So we have wonderful studies on that, and Uta, Jonathan, and Richard, we are all doing wonderfuls for the grief. But we thankful to you that you give us a new idea of hypnotherapist. So we will connect it to you in the future, and we need more sessions on this therapy so that everyone should know about what is actually grief and why, how they treat. So many of the person are coming to our clinic also, does not telling about the grief. But when we are just taking the history and going deeper to inside, that we and then we found that lot of grief are there. And if a person is coming with the skin eruption or the psoriasis, everyone knows about the skin eruptions. So this is also generated from the grief.
Yes.
So we should connect this physical symptom to the mental level, and we should find out about this grief. So many of the patients are just relieving when they get relief in her grief. So we are doing like that.
Oh wow, this is incredible. And Jonathan, to go back to your question, have I ever worked with homeopath? No, but I'm going to now. This is incredible. And you know, the fact that you can pinpoint it so accurately is so brilliant. Oh, it reminds me of a little story. Can I share it with you? Because you mentioned, skin conditions, Dr. Sharma. So when I was 17 years old, my mum and dad were both alive then, and I was doing my A-levels, and A-levels are exams. In fact, today we had in the UK, our A-level results came out today, so my son got his, and I'm very happy. I'm a very happy mother, let's say that. So, well done, Jacob. So when I was doing my A-levels, I was really stressed, really stressed, because I was a really bad student, you know. I didn't have that ability to read a book, understand it, and then regurgitate it. I needed someone to show me, to explain to me. But unfortunately, in those days, we didn't have this thing called the internet. I am that old. And I couldn't just Google things. I couldn't just YouTube things. So I really was a bad student. And so I was really stressed the whole time. And my dad used to really be, come on, you've got to do better. You've got to do better. So the amount of pressure that was there was huge. I constantly felt my emotions were trying to cry, and I just didn't have a voice. So one day we had this really big argument, like such a massive argument. And I went to sleep crying. I was crying in my sleep, I think. And I remember saying into my pillow, in the morning, please give me some kind of miracle. I need to get out. I need to get out of this situation. So do something, body. And I said this to my body. I really wish I hadn't said that, because in the morning, I woke up, I heard my mum come into my room, but I couldn't open my eyes. It was like my eyes were glued shut and I couldn't move my body. And I heard her say my name, and then I heard her scream, and then she dropped whatever she was carrying. It must have been hot drink or something, because I felt the heat on my hand and my arm, and I thought, well, I definitely am awake because I felt this, but I had no idea what had happened. So to cut a really long story short, overnight, out of nowhere, my body had developed eczema from head to toe, and the whole of my body was lacerated and weeping. I was stuck to the bed and I couldn't open my mouth or open my eyes. Anyway, I got rushed into London, the dermatology specialist hospital there, and they'd never seen anything like it. I was in hospital for 3 months, and while I was lying there in mummy wraps with, Hypnotherapist cream and all of this, I realized that my body was so clever, it got me out of something, because I couldn't do my A-levels because I took too much time off school. And so then I was able to do something, like I could change my A-levels and do what I wanted to do. But in that moment of realization in that hospital, I realized that it was my body saying, hello. It was trying to get my attention. My emotions were coming out of my skin, and the skin is the biggest organ of the body. And it was saying, do something different. Stop this, stop stressing, because this is what stress is happening to you. So I now believe that grief is exactly the same thing. It's emotional overwhelm. It doesn't know where to go. The emotions don't know where to go. So they have to go somewhere. But if we keep shoving them back in, they will come out somewhere, and they'll come out in our physical body, they'll come out in our minds, they'll come out somewhere. So if we can start to invite this conversation between our body, our mind, and our emotions, and get them all in a room together and start talking nicely, that's my hope.
Wonderful. Yeah.
That's a wonderful recount,
Yes.
Dipti, of, I'm sure Dr. Deepak has something to say to that. Go on, Deepak.
Yes, and Dipti, this was really a wonderful story, and I think every person who is having grief or like any other emotional symptoms, this is really connected to their limbic system. If your limbic system is really good, then you are not feeling any grief or not in anxiety, but
Oh, did he disappear?
of the limbic system patient.
Oh, he's there.
Oh, there you are back. We lost
Yes.
you for a moment, Deepak. Would you like to repeat that?
Okay.
Because your connection was very...
Yes. Oh, sorry. I told that the limbic system is the main part of our body who is controlling each and everything in our bodies, like our emotions, like our grief, and every system of the body is controlled by your limbic system. So just keep calm your limbic system and be cool. You will not getting any physical symptom, I think.
Yes.
That is my opinion.
That is the point of hypnotherapy. The hypnotherapy engages the parasympathetic nervous system immediately, and which is switching off fight, flight, freeze. So essentially, when you learn to deeply relax on demand, you are not stressing, because you can't stress and relax at the same time. So we are switching the systems from essentially sympathetic over to parasympathetic. So that's really what we do. And to go back to Jonathan, that's what the point of the therapy is. It's like, you listened to my audio yesterday, you would have switched on your parasympathetic nervous system. And if your body internally is in parasympathetic, we're naturally healing. We're naturally calm. We're naturally quiet. We're naturally, doing the most amazing things that the body will do when it's in that mode. So that's why I think hypnotherapy can work so beautifully with homeopathy and grief, and yeah, I'm really interested in continuing these conversations further, because I'd love to know what little drops I can, prescribe or refer them to you guys. It's amazing.
Absolutely. I think hypnotherapy and homeopathy could work very well alongside of each other. They're very well combinable. Dipti, you agreed to give us a little demonstration of the art of hypnotherapy. Now, we've gotten 2 guinea pigs for you.
Yay!
Richard and Jonathan have agreed to be hypnotized by you. I mean, we're all hypnotized by you in a way. It's a fantastic chat we're having here. Very, very interesting. Thank you so much. So be free to try out, choose your guinea pig or choose them both. We are all listening in and looking forward to seeing how this works when you do it in practice.
Well, you can all do it, because it's really just essentially a lovely deep relaxation. So that's all we're going to be experiencing. So like I just said a minute ago, all we're doing is going into our own parasympathetic nervous system. Mm-hmm. So we can all do this if you want to, we're not doing anything weird.
Very well then, let's have a go.
So what I would like first of all is, if I ask you one question and you just answer me the one answer, I say, if you could get into a very relaxed state and you were able to tap into something really useful to help you later on in the day, what would that be? How would you like to be at the end of this session? So if you could all say one word that would get your brain to focus on that. Jonathan, start with you.
I have a ton of stuff I got to do by the end of the day, and I'm finding that I'm procrastinating a little bit and pushing it off. I would definitely like to be a little bit more, I don't say motivated, because I really want to get this stuff done, but be procrastinating less would definitely be how I would like my day to finish.
So think about the brain. If we're Googling procrastinating less, the brain's going to hear procrastinating rather than less or more. So what's the word? Do you want to be more productive?
Absolutely. Perfect word.
Say that word out loud, Jonathan.
Productive.
Nice. So Jonathan wants to be motivated and productive. And Jonathan, you will know that you're a little bit more motivated and productive because if you were, for example, what would you notice?
That my to-do list was completed.
Nice. So would it be a miracle if your to-do list was created and completed by the end of today?
I mean, I wouldn't say a miracle. I would say it's probably more as
Nice.
a result of what you've done for me.
Yes, nice. So to-do list completed. Lovely. Good, Rich. Good, Jonathan. Richard.
More positive.
More positive. How can you be more positive? Is that possible?
Because I'm hypersensitive, so everything that relates to me, I see more of the negative side than the positive side. Even though I'm trying to be a positive person, that is an affliction from my upbringing.
If you were, like, imagine something happens today and you were a little bit more positive by the end of the day, what would you notice? What would change?
Be happier.
Nice. So you would notice that you're happier. Okay, so only, I guess in a way you would notice that. But how would anyone else notice that this had been the case?
Be calmer.
You'd be calmer as well. Okay.
That's right.
If you were more positive, more happy, and a little bit more calm, how would you know in practical terms?
Well, that's, I don't know how to define that one. You got me stumped on that one. I don't know how to answer that one.
Have a little think.
Maybe I have more faith in myself.
Oh, nice. More faith. Lovely. Perfect. Good. Nice. Thank you, Richard. Dr. Deepak and Uta, would you like to also answer the question, or are you happy to just observe?
I'm
I
happy
think
to
Richard
observe.
yes, I think Richard and Jonathan is enough for your study. So these two people are good.
Okay, so Uta and Deepak, if you just want to listen and watch, that's absolutely fine. But Jonathan and Richard, all you have to do is just get yourself comfortable. Find somewhere where you can lie back or lean back or whatever you need to do. And if you're cold or anything, make sure you've got a little blanket, or if you're warm enough, that's absolutely fine. Both of you, just get yourself in a comfortable position now. And as you get yourself comfortable, you might like to close your eyes, because closing your eyes to the outside world helps you open up your eyes to the inside world, which is the powerful world of your imagination. So we're going to be working with your imagination right now. But first, I'd like you to take your attention to your breathing. So just take some very nice, longer, slower, deeper breaths in and out. Nice. And every time you breathe in, what I'd like you to imagine is that you're breathing in all the way down into your belly. And every time you breathe out, what I'd like you to do is imagine you're letting go of anything you don't really need to hold on to right now. So any niggles, any concerns, any worries, just for these moments, just let them go. Almost as if you're protecting and preserving this time and this space for you. Right here, right now, where you can just hear the sound of my voice and you can become aware of your own breath, just gently and gradually deepening, ever so softly. As you take those nice, long, easy breaths in and out, you know that this is quite an amazing thing that you do there. You start to engage with your parasympathetic nervous system. It's almost as if you know that you can slow down your own heart rate as you slow down your breath. Noticing how relaxation can extend. Thinking about relaxing the top of your head, your scalp. Imagine that the sun is shining outside and the sun is shining on your head. And imagine that your head was made of butter. So all of your muscles at the top of your head are just beginning to soften. Softening into your temples, into your forehead, into your eyebrows, into your eyelids, softening your cheeks and your chin and your jaw. Even noticing how you can soften the tiny muscles that make up the expression on your face. So you can almost feel your skin smoothing out. Takes 10 years off your face, which is really nice. And when you soften your face at this level, when you soften your expression, you send a really positive message down into your body, telling your body that you are prioritizing relaxation and calm. So right now, it's as if your shoulders drop away from your ears, noticing the space there. As your shoulders drop, imagine the relaxation can spread down your arms, down into your elbows, down even further into your wrists, down into your fingertips and your thumbs. One arm might be more relaxed than the other one, and if that's the case, I'd like you to imagine how you can balance out that comfortable feeling between your right side and your left side, just finding your own middle, your own center, your own neutral there. Nice. And imagine now that there is a spiral of relaxation traveling around and around each one of your vertebrae, around your spine, bit by bit, piece by piece, relaxing all the way around each one of your vertebrae until it gets to the middle of your spine. I'd like you to imagine what it might feel like if you could relax 50% more than you've ever done before. And how would that feel? What would you notice? As you relax all the way down your spine now, remember right now you're sitting down, your spine doesn't need to be switched on because you're being beautifully supported by what you're sitting on. Imagine that relaxation spreads down your legs now. Noticing your knees relax, noticing your toes relax, one by one, just letting go. And as you allow yourself to relax in this way, I'd like to remind you that when you are this relaxed, there is another part of you that switches on. This is the part of you that gets on with things. This is the part of you that knows exactly what to do and how to do it. This is the part of you that prioritizes effectively and efficiently. This is the part of you that starts things and finishes things and completes things. And this part of you is your own motivation that switches on now, that just doesn't really question anything. You just get on with things. Things just seem easy to you as you just get through whatever you need to do, one by one, effortlessly. Finding yourself just ticking things off your list, and then once you've ticked something off, you are re-inspired to tick something else off until the day is over. And just as you do this more and more, you start to find that there is more faith in your system, faith in your system, faith in you, self-belief, self-value, self-awareness. And as you have this beautiful self-awareness, you tap into these very positive parts of you that only you know you have. And when you know you have them, you start to find that you're able to bring them into your awareness easily and effortlessly, finding that you tap into your own internal happiness, your own internal wisdom. And that makes you smile, doesn't it? Counting up now. 5, you can hear my voice clearly. 4, just become aware of the chair you're sitting down on. 3, feeling the clothes against your skin. 2, wiggling your fingers and toes, Jonathan and Richard. And 1, when you're ready, opening your eyes. Nice. Well done, you.
Fabulous. How are you feeling, Richard?
I'm relaxed. I'm all relaxed.
And you're smiling. There you are. Jonathan, how are you feeling?
That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. I'm definitely going to be in touch with Dipti.
Perfect. And you can feed back to us and let us know how procrastination has been working, but or how you kicked it in the curb, so to speak. Wonderful. Thank you very much for doing this, Dipti, and I'm sure that they'll feed back to you how they've been feeling. The session has it's come to an end. There's one thing I'd like to know. What do people have to watch out for if they choose a hypnotherapist, and how can they reach you if they want you in particular?
So, good question. So, the thing that is the most important to do if you're looking for a hypnotherapist is make sure you get on with the hypnotherapist that you've chosen. Make sure you trust them. And that's why the initial consultation is really, really important. And at the end of the initial consultation with any person that you choose to, ask for an initial consultation, if you don't feel that there's that, gelling thing, the rapport, don't go for it. Just find somebody that you really do, trust and gel with. So that's always my suggestion. How to get hold of me? Yes, I have a website, which is my name. It's very simple. It's just diptitait.com. And there are some free things on my website that people can kind of go in to do. There's a free emotional well-being health check that somebody can do. There are free relaxation audios and a couple of other free things in the product section. So yeah, please go and download whatever you want.
Thank you very much, Dipti. This was a very empowering and very positive chat we had with you. It was very much fun. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody who was here today. Jonathan, Richard in particular, thank you for joining us and playing guinea pigs for us today. Thank you, Dr. Deepak. Thank you very much. Thank you, Amnon. Thank you, everyone. We will be back with another HealthInn show at the next month. We will be having Dr. Andrew Kaufman to talk to us. So this is going to be very interesting. For all other events that are coming up as of September, check up on the homeopathyworldcommunity.com website. On the calendar, we will inform of what's coming up and what's going on. And join us if you want to become a member and be part of a thriving and fun-loving community as we are. And I think we've demonstrated today. So see you all there. Thank you very much. And bye-bye. Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Amna. Thank you, Janda.
Bye, Dipti.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye, Dipti. Thank you very much.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.